Oh, we are on. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Harriet Kamek Show. Thank you for joining us to join our web series as we talk about the things that matter. We talk about on the show what matters, and we talk about what we should talk about. So wanted to say good morning. Welcome. It's Holy Thursday, and it is Holy Thursday. It's amazing to me. I'm simply grateful myself because I made it to another Holy Thursday. And it seemed dubious for a second there because it seems like churches around the world are on fire. And maybe it is changing our traditional forms of worship. I don't think so. I think it's calling attention to what we need to pay attention to, that our faith is under attack and that there are people who are good morning. Thank you for calling me Harriet Baby. And that there are people who have vested interest in seeing to it that our places of worship are destroyed. Uh, Big boobs. Okay. You think? Okay. Thank you. Right. So today's Holy Thursday, and within the context of Holy Thursday, and don't be offended, don't get turned off because I choose this day to talk about not being holy, but talk about the significance of what Holy Thursday means. I think in a lot of ways we have forgotten what it means. I think right now everybody is watching the news broadcast. Thank you. Masala. Thank you. I think right now everybody's watching the newscast with the Attorney General, where he's giving his dissertation on the Mueller report, and the rest of us are like, and we knew that was coming. We knew something was up when it took 2 weeks. We knew that there were changes made to it, so you're not going to surprise us. There are no surprises there. But it's Holy Thursday, and it is time for us. I think we should have this talk. We should have this talk about what Holy Thursday means. Is it still significant? Is it meaningful? Are we doing what we are supposed to do? What is the message of Jesus Christ today? And I think that's a message that can resonate anywhere else in the world because I think in a lot of ways we are forgetting what the message was. I have found that the traditions are more the observations, and the observances of the traditions have replaced the true message. And so we're not paying attention to what the message is, the original message, what it was designed to do, what it was meant to do. We're paying more attention to the traditions. I have found that there is a lot of confusion today about whether you should serve God, you shouldn't worship God because there's so much noise. And of course, the traditional ways in which everything about God has been presented like he's some tooth fairy and he's going to answer every prayer and he's going to answer it right away. And he's a magician and a robot that you wind him up like some grandfather with a robot, and you wind him up and he just does what you want and it's just okay. I find that that has never been true, is not true, and in fact has diluted the effect and the power of the story. The story was designed to comfort, and the story was designed to create authority. The story was designed to appease you and to answer your questions, and certainly to give you hope. The most important message of it was hope, right? Oh my God. My friends over here on Periscope are just driving me crazy. Masala is his name. So if you're on Periscope, go look this guy up. He's just saying some stuff, right? But the important thing to remember is what is the story of Jesus Christ's death and resurrection about? What does it really mean? And I think the message has been lost because we've replaced it with so much of what we've been doing. I mean, I've been doing Easter from I was a kid. Remember Easter egg hunt, and they have the story of the crucifixion starting from Palm Sunday and so on. But what was really the message? The message got lost. It got diluted until now it's erased. And I think in a lot of ways, this is what is going on. And I also want to point out, too, that church fires have been happening all over the country for years now. It's a form, we viewed it as nationalism. The people who, I don't want to say perpetrate, because that sounds criminal. But the people who have their strong views opposing what blacks represent to this country, yes, right? Those people have burnt black churches. The only churches they're burning are black churches. They're not burning white churches. They're only burning black churches because they think if they burn black churches, they can erase the history of blacks and what blacks have done, especially in the South, right? So those people think they're right. They think they have a right. They're not burning their white churches, the churches where they worship. They're only burning black churches, which sends a message in and of itself. Honestly, Jesus Christ was not a white man. Let's be clear about that. Jesus Christ was not white. He was from the Middle East. People from the Middle East are brown people. So Jesus Christ was neither blonde nor blue-eyed. He was a Jewish man of Jewish ancestry, right? Who had brown hair and brown eyes. Let us be clear. Let us resolve that issue right away. So if he's brown, he's kind of the mid-range of human color, because human beings tend to be either white, brown, or black, right? So he's in the middle. He's brown because he's black and white. He's brown because he's brown. He comes from that region of the earth. Portraying and depicting Jesus as being white is one of the most divisive things in Christianity. Also, using Christianity as a message board for conquering other nations is also what has created thousands of years later this distrust. Because people went into other lands and used the Bible as their defense for why they went in, when really they went in under greed. Those people were the farthest thing from being Christian ever. They went in because they were greedy. They wanted to hear, right? They wanted to conquer. They saw something in somebody else's land. They were just jealous. They went in under the banner of Christianity and created this problem. So the message then of Jesus Christ became diluted and became lost in the conquest, lost in the story. It became lost because the power was in the message, right? Hallelujah. Right? The power was in the story. The power was in the story, and the truth thereof was diluted, right? And so today, when you look at Christianity in an attempt to talk about Christians, guess what happens? What happens? People don't want to hear about Christianity because they view it as divisive. They view it as something that was used to conquer, and they view it now as something as a form of oppression. Especially in some circles, people say, well, my grandmother was a Christian. She went to church every Sunday. She gave all her money to the preacher, and then she died and nothing happened. I kid you not, right? Then we also have people who feel, especially women, who found that entering the faith, you feel called to the faith, and then you enter in the faith, and there are these traditions of men that make women, reduce women, and see us as servient, see us as servants. Yes, we're all supposed to serve with a heart of servitude. That includes you, bishop. That includes you, the archbishop. That includes you, pastor, preacher guy, right? All of us are supposed to bring to our service a heart of servitude, meaning a desire to serve the people, coming from Jesus, accepting your call from God, right? But instead, what women found, we were mistreated, sidelined. We were told to hide our bodies. Women are anatomically different from men. And we were told to not to wear the longest skirts and to hide your femininity because you were a temptation to other men. Because if you show up looking like a woman, then it's your fault that the person on the pulpit or the person sitting in the other people, the men seated in the pulpit, were staring at you. That is wrong. Women, we're not supposed to wear makeup. We're not supposed to enhance our looks. I just want to tell you that the ancient Egyptians developed eyeliner. They've been wearing color on their skin to enhance themselves for hundreds of thousands of years. So these traditions of men interposed and played into what is traditional Christianity and became a tradition of people's ideas, people's own feelings. Maybe somebody got up one day and was jealous. Maybe some man was tempted beyond what was reasonable. And so they became traditions. So a lot of people walked away. You can't have sex before marriage. I still don't know if that is scriptural, because in back in the day they had marriages was like a month-long ceremony, right? You were supposed to be chaste according to the Old Testament. Well, Jesus came and said we don't need to do all that. That was the message of grace. We're under the dispensation of grace. Sometimes I think we forget that. And that is not to say grace is an encouragement, or grace is your license to sin, or gives you the okay to do what you want to do. No, it does not. But what it tells you is that if you fall, then grace will cover you, because you can still go and ask for repentance. And what the repentance there means is that you won't do it again. So repentance is not, okay, so I get tempted next week, I'm going to do it again. No, that's not how it was meant to be. Repentance was turning away from, not going back. Do we preach that? No, we don't say that anymore. We don't say that. We don't talk about that. And I feel that on today, as we prayerfully contemplate Easter, I won't be long with you this morning. It's only going to take a few minutes, because, like everybody else, I am celebrating Easter and being mindful and thoughtful, especially in the wake of all these church fires. I believe that there is a message inherent there. No, whatever the devil meant, whatever evil emanated from the folks who burned churches, there is still a message for us to pay attention to it. And now there's a GoFundMe page started by Pastor Freddie Jackson. So far, they've raised $1.8 million to rebuild Black churches in Louisiana, 3 of whom were destroyed this past week, like within 10 days. I think it's time for us to pay attention to that. And I'm one of those persons who, I don't fear human beings. Yeah, I don't know if they do all of this because they want to. Some people live with fear. Some people thrive in a community of fear. They like to think that people are afraid of them. I say this to people all the time, that when you get attacked, somebody, you have a home invasion and somebody comes into your house, their greatest tool is your fear. They act on your fear, and your fear paralyzes you and immobilizes you to take action. You can't do anything because you're fearful. Well, that's exactly what these folks want us to do. These folks who are burning churches, they want us to live in fear. They want us to be fearful. So they're burning churches as if they're burning our icons, burning our souls, and we're supposed to stand there and be paralyzed. They get a thrill out of thinking people are like, oh my God, they're going to come for me next. I want to tell you, dude, you want to try me? Come on. There's some of us out here, we're waiting for you to come. You know why? Because we ain't going nowhere and we're not afraid of you. And the same tools you have, think about it, you nationalist people, the same tools you have, we have. So you think the justice system is going to color in your favor? I dare you to find out. You just haven't met the right people yet. That's all. You just haven't met the right people who are going to stand up to you. Here is one of them. Okay? Because I am not going to walk into a house of worship that is called Christian, or a Jewish temple, or a mosque, and feel fearful. I have gone to services in those places. You think I'm going to be fearful? Not a chance. Am I going to worry that they're going to burn or they're going to come with a gun and shoot? Please. I am not. And this is what it is. All these churches burning are designed, because here's the thing. Traditionally in the Black community, people gather at a church. That was the only place that people could gather. And still today, the message coming from churches encourages people, right? So they think today that if they can burn churches, then Black people are not going to gather. They're not going to mobilize. They're not going to be united. So let's tear down what matters to them, especially in the South. It's symbolic in the South because the South is the seat of racism. The South is the seat of Confederacy. The South is the seat where everything bad that could have happened, that's where they carried out their plantations. I am just saying, if you come from the South, Bama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, and all the southern states, I think everybody should start looking for the descendants of plantation owners and start filing lawsuits for reparations against them. Because Black people were kidnapped from Africa and enslaved and brought here to be enslaved. So if white folks, especially nationalists, because not everybody is like that, right? Who don't like it, well, tough. It is what it is. We're trying to move forward, but you're pulling us back into fear. Then since you want to go there, well, why don't you pay for it? I think everybody should, who is a descendant of slaves, who it lives in, comes from those communities, go look up the descendant. Go investigate your history. Find out which plantation your ancestors were attached to, and find out they have descendants today. And if they're whether their descendants live in the east, north, south, or west, wherever they live, file reparations against them. See how quickly all this stuff will stop. The hate will stop. The racism is going to stop. And they definitely will stop the institution of racism, because then they will realize that you're serious. They want us to cower in fear. So if you're a pastor who lives in the South, or you're planning to go to church this Sunday, and you are wondering if you should or you shouldn't go, my encouragement to you is to go. Don't let that be the reason why you don't go, because they cannot wipe out your faith, and they should not wipe out our resolve either. Our resolve is that we are free, and we're free to worship wherever we choose to worship, and we are free to choose whom we choose to worship. I choose to be Christian. I could have chosen to be Jew. I could have chosen to worship Allah. I choose to be Christian. And like everyone else, I am entitled to choosing and supporting and worshiping the faith that I choose. So I say this to all white nationalists. Hi, morning, right? I say this to all white nationalists. If you're out there, we really want to extend the hand of brotherhood to you, but we don't want you to extend a hand back to us with fire in it and with guns in it and ammunition. Don't do us like you did the Native Americans, where you extended one hand of friendship, but behind it, you came with guns to kill them off. We're not going to put up with that. This is 2019. We're not going to go there with that. The message today, what we are trying to tell you is, let us live in love and brotherhood. And if you don't like that message, then it's time for you to go find somewhere else, because we're not going to go back 100 years when it made you feel good about you being you. We're not going to go back to that. We're not going to go back to 200 years when you felt like you had the free run of the land. I don't care what message you think is coming from the White House. I can guarantee you that that's not the message they really want to convey. They're just playing to you to get your vote. But you can't see that. So you think they're really serious? You really think the man sitting in the White House is really serious about dividing this country? You absolutely think so? And he lives here, and his children are going to live here, and he doesn't want to. It's a play. He's doing it to get your votes, to get you all riled up, to go to the polls and give him another 4 years so he and his family can get richer. The joke is on you. Are vested for 7 generations. They have enough money for 7 generations. So you're sitting over there getting you into your national list, and he tapped into it. That man is one of the most famous brand ambassadors ever. He tapped into something, and he says, let me use this for my good. So here you are destroying icons of the Black community and icons of Black history, and think that you're getting something with it. No, you're not winning, because he's using you to get your vote. And when he's done, guess what he's going to do? Gonna have you what? Say it. Locked up. You remember Julian Assange? Remember him? The WikiLeaks guy? They used him to create some stuff in the 2016 election, because it was all about winning an election by whatever means necessary. They used Julian Assange and promoted his WikiLeaks of emails and dangerous information about the security of the country. Do you know what happened to Julian Assange 2.5 years later? An extradition order demanding that Ecuador release him from their embassy in London. And he's going to be extradited to the United States, because the British government is going to say, we're not going to have anything to do with it. That's what they do to people. They don't like you, but they want your vote. They get you. And then when they're done, they're done. In the meantime, we, the Christians, are still standing here like, hey, we did tell you that you were to join with us and join the brotherhood of love. But instead, you chose the brotherhood and the unity of hate. It is Holy Week and it's Holy Thursday. Let us be mindful of what that is all about. The story and the power behind the story is one of deliverance. The story is one of forgiveness, and it's the story of love. One man believed in what he believed. Jesus Christ was a man who lived 2,000 years ago, more than 2,000 years. It's now 2019 years ago. He believed that he was the Son of God. He believed that his mother was a virgin when she conceived with him. That's what he believed. And for his belief, he believed that he had a directive and a mission to empower and save his people. And he did that to his detriment. He said, if I die, I die. And he did it, walked right up to the cross. They killed him for what he believed. And now, 2019 years later, we're still worshiping him. Part of what was saved from the Notre Dame fire was the crown of thorns that they believed Jesus wore. Somehow they acquired it in the 8th century. I don't know how they acquired it 850 years ago in the 11th century. I don't know how they acquired it, but they acquired it and have kept it, which means there's some DNA on it. Years ago, there was, you remember the shroud, the story of the shroud? Remember that? Years ago, it almost came to Central Florida on a tour, but it was falling apart. And what they did was some Jewish scientists in Tel Aviv went and did a DNA testing on it, on the original shroud, the Shroud of Turin, Turin. And they found that it is evidence. That is the evidence. But what the thing about it that was remarkable about the shroud is when you looked at it, it just looked like a piece of cloth. But when you went up closer to it, it's almost as if you could see the image of Jesus Christ in it, the person who wore that shroud, right? So don't try. In other words, we believe what we believe, just like people believe in Buddha, people believe in Confucius, people believe the trees, their God, people believe in the sun, the moon, the stars, the cow, and everything else in between. This is what we choose to believe in. I don't see why there should be any persecution against anyone for what they believe in. And what we're not paying attention to is that these church fires are a form of religious persecution. You're telling a group of people that they should not believe what they believe, and you're persecuting them from entering into their house of worship. Legally, that's a hate crime, but spiritually, that is persecution personified. That is the textbook meaning of persecution. So I say to white nationalists, I mean, years ago, I came across a guy who was in the Ku Klux Klan, and I tried to get him on my show to talk to us. I wanted to ask the question, what happened during civil rights? How do you feel now after marching on people and after you burn people's homes and put your Klan robes on and so on? And he denied it. He denied that happened. He actually blamed the government for doing that. He said that was not us. This was in 2013, right? 2013 or 2014. I tried desperately to get him on my show. He would not come, but he did direct me to the Ku Klux Klan here in Fraser, Michigan. I'm not afraid of them. I just didn't think I was going to give a voice to hate rhetoric. Do you see what I'm saying? I could have opened my platform and said, come and talk. I mean, people around me were like, are you crazy? And I'm like, no, I want to hear what they have to say. So I'm not afraid of what you're going to do to me because you don't believe as I do, or you hate me for what I look like or for what you think I represent. I'm not scared of you. The operative word, I think what we Christians need to understand is that the operative code from this kind of hate mongering is fear. If they can get you to feel afraid, they have won, because now you're not going to say the name of Jesus. You're not going to say the name of God. You're definitely not going to step foot in another house of worship because you're afraid. It's fear mongering. They get a thrill. It's called a vicarious thrill. They get a thrill out of enjoying our discomfort, of enjoying our pain. They think, but you don't know resolve. See, what they forgot. These are the same folks and their descendants who were taken from Africa and kidnapped from Africa, beaten, taken on a journey through the Middle Passage where women were having periods and the women sat above men and their period blood and urine and everything drained down on one another in a form of humiliation. These are the descendants of these people who were taken against their will, beaten and raped. Both men and women were raped. That's the history of slavery. So you don't like it? It is what it is. Is it unpleasant? For both of us. for you and for me. But is it, we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, we're not going to rid it, because all we're doing is brushing it under the carpet. One group of people don't want to remember because it makes them uncomfortable for how they stand today. And another group of people are like, I'm really pissed off. I really am mad. No, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened. Because a lot of what happened, it's a good thing that Black people even believe in God. Because the truth is, Christianity was used as a tool by white oppressors to oppress and enslave people. They were told, Black people were told that they're supposed to, that God gave them authority. Some of these white men who were reading the Bible couldn't even read. They were illiterate, but they were making it up as they went along, but using the Bible as the authority for what they're doing. Hello. Well, they were first afraid and intimidated by what people of color had in culture and their faith. Absolutely. Do you see what I mean? So now here we are, 400 years later, we have this history. And it seems to me that they want to repeat something that they lost. Don't listen to the politicians. The politicians are laughing at you. They're not laughing with you. You see them campaigning and all kinds of stuff. They're using you to get votes. And if they can fire you up with enough hatred, what it does is it scores 10 votes for them in the voting booth. And that's all they're worried about. They don't care. They don't care. At the end of the day, they're going to get in their private jets and take off and leave you in your muck and your mire. And when their 4 years in the White House are done, they still get on a private plane and go back to their palaces that they lived in prior to going to the White House. So think about that. Think about that really. So you really are going to sit there and be divisive with the same people and the same neighbors. The same people whom you're going to encounter in the stores. You're going to get fired up and you're going to end up in jail. Because I tell you one thing I've learned about the justice system. Whenever these things become apparent like that, they're still going to do what? They're still going to lock them up. They're still going to lock people up for creating public safety issues. They're still going to lock you up. If they catch you, they may not shoot you on the spot. But you know what? You get a death sentence by going to jail for the next 100 years. So think about that. So when you think about it within the context, yeah, let's talk about it. When you think about it within the context, it's not even worth going to burn down a Black church. It's not, because you still, if they catch you, you're going to jail one way or another. And guess who's going to send you to jail? It's not a Black mayor, a Black prosecutor. It's going to, or a Black judge. It's going to be a white judge who looks just like you, who's going to say, no, we don't want this kind of stuff, because it's disruptive to our community. It's disruptive to public peace. We live in America because we want to live in a nation where you're free, first of all. And secondly, that is peaceful. We want peace. We don't want our neighborhoods on fire. We don't want our churches or schools being shot up. We don't want that. So the few people who are doing it, you need to go sit down. All you're doing is promoting fear. And as for me and a few of us, we're not afraid. We are not afraid of your fear mongering. We're not afraid of you calling us out names, calling people niggers, calling people every kind of name, calling women bitches and calling people. We're not afraid of your names or what you're going to call, but because I'm going to meet you in court and I'm going to win. And if you think getting rid of me is going to do it, then you have a whole group of people behind me who are going to make sure that you never forget and you never not pay for what you've done. This is the resolve that we need to have. You cannot outsmart us. You cannot beat us up. You cannot burn our churches down. We're not going to give in. We don't give up like that. We're not that kind of people. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is our resolve. We have to resolve to stay in the game. We have to resolve we're still going to believe in spite of. God never promised us that it was going to be every day, it was going to be hunky-dory and a fairy tale. That's a fairy tale created by the traditions of men. God promised us in the word that as you live, you will encounter trials and tribulations, but don't worry about it. You will overcome. Whether we overcome in this life, this is the life where we're going to overcome. We're going to overcome right here. Overcoming right here, right now. This is how we're going to overcome. You want to burn our churches down? Well, we're going to take you to court. And when we find you, you're going to spend 100 years in prison. How about that? Start right there. You want to shoot us up? Okay, when we do find you, you're going to pay for it because we're going to make sure you get locked up for committing murder. And that is how we're going to do this. Do you see? So as Christians, today's Holy Thursday, don't give up on your faith. Don't feel that you shouldn't talk about your faith. The blackmail is the number one intimidation to white supremacy. What do you all think about that? Right? Don't feel that you need to give up. There is no supreme being. The one supreme being was Jesus Christ. He died and took on another flesh to go back up to heaven. There is no human being who is superior to the other. We all put our clothes on and our underwear on every morning. We all have to go to the bathroom to pee and poo. We all smell if we don't wash. Hello. Have you ever been around people who don't wash, whatever color they are? People smell. Okay? So there is no superior human being. So white nationalists, my brothers and sisters who are white nationalists, you listen to me. Yes, you do, because you all listen to me. Yeah, I know you do. Listen, time out. It's over. Lay it down. It's done. There's no difference between us. Because you cut me, the blood that flows out is red. They cut you, the blood that flows out is red. We go into the emergency room. We still have bone and tissue and cells that they have to work on. I can trace my ancestry back 1,000 years to folks from Ireland and Scotland. I can trace my ancestry back 1,000 years to people who came from Nigeria and Western Africa. I can trace my ancestry back to people who came from Spain. You can trace your ancestry back maybe 100 years, 150 years ago. Just saying, well, they all came from Europe. Well, we all are a mixture. So you can't tell me that you're going to hate me because I look different than you. And you can't tell me that your very neighbors, look, most of you white nationalists are poor anyway, right? You live up in the hills. Your neighbors are black. You're hurting your neighbors. Most of you are. You're disenchanted with the way things turned out. Why don't you come down here and join with us? Go to school. Hey, that's a novel idea. Go to school and get qualified. Some of you have gone through the process. You've joined the ranks of law enforcement. You're now in political echelons, and you think that you have crossed over, so you're going to perpetrate your message of hate. You don't like how it sounds? Tough. It is what it is. It's hate. And you're using your hatred. Your hatred fires you up and powers you up. Are you going to kill everybody in the world because you hate them? Why do you hate people who have not hurt you? Do you know people, black and white alike, have hurt me? But I don't go through life hating anybody. This has got to stop. Look around us. You're destroying the fabric of your own community. So which world do you think you're going to live in? Because here's the deal. Your ancestors in the South, your white ancestors, and I guarantee you that most people from the South who are white have had a black ancestor. You hit it, but it is there if you look underneath it. Because they were having sex with everybody. So let's just be clear about that. So let's debunk that right there, right? The second thing is, who do you really hate? Why do you really hate those folks? Why? Tell me the real reason for. Anytime I ask this question, because when the fellow from the Ku Klux Klan was on the phone, I asked him for the genesis of their hate. I said, why do you hate? There was no answer. He was following a tradition. It's something his grandfather and his father told him. I said, well, where did they get that from? I don't know. So you are just carrying out a hate? You are disenchanted with the system. You're disenchanted that you are not economically superior. That's where your superiority comes from. That's all that it is. White supremacy is about money and power. You just really want to feel economically superior. And you can't, because the world's currency and the world trading systems and the world's economic and financial systems have changed. The people who control most of the wealth in the world are brown. They own the oil and they own the rest of us. That's why we are fighting over here in America to find alternative sources of energy. Let's just be clear about that. That's it. You feel threatened, not by the black guy you see on the street. You really feel threatened by who he represents. A challenge to your economic power because you don't have any. Because let me be clear with you. If you've ever had money and you've ever lived comfortably, some things don't bother you because your money gives you layers of protection. This is how I know most of them have never had money because they don't know what it feels like. They don't know you don't know what it gives. You ever wonder why the reason you see a black man who is successful and you hate him, you hate what he represents. You know what that is? What you can't have. Because he is demonstrating exactly the superior. You think he's being superior. No, he's just comfortable that he can afford to take care of himself and his children for a generation or two. That's all. Let me read what folks are saying here. They own 42% of the U.S. embassy and currency, right? Brown people own the rest of us in the other parts of the world. Have you been to Dubai? I encourage you all to go traveling. Hello, my white brothers and sisters, do me a favor. Instead of burning black churches and marching against black people and not hiring black people, take that holy role you're on and go on vacation to Dubai. Go on vacation to India. See how other people who are not white live. It's going to be eye-opening. Go to the United Arab Emirates. Go to Egypt. Go to Istanbul in Turkey. Let's show you how brown people live. And they are happy. They're successful with their thousands of years of history. Go see how they live. Go down to Africa. Go down to the River Nile. Go down to the museum where they have the kings of Nubia. And they show you how the Nubians, a proud group of Africans, they were over 7 feet tall, how they left their histories written on walls. Go take a look at the rest of the world. Don't just live up in Appalachia. Don't just live in your little corner of Mobile, Alabama. You just live in one little part and you just think that that's your whole world. Get a life. Once you see how other people live, it's mind-blowing. The first thing that happens to you is you say, my God, I want to participate in their currency. I want to participate in their economy. You think we're not supposed to? They're poor. Let me explain something. Do you know why Donald Trump is successful? It's in the way he thinks, right? Donald Trump says, wait a minute. I was already a rich man. And then you gave me the power to be the president. He's looking at everything else. And he's like, there are opportunities everywhere. So he's developed partnerships with people who are non-white all across the world to make money for the next 7 generations. So while you're sitting up there plotting to go burn the next black church, to shoot the next black man, you're actually silly. Donald Trump is sitting back and having a laugh at you because you don't have any sense. Because he's thinking, if you were really thinking, what you would do is what? Form economic partnerships and try to think, how am I going to participate in the currency and the financial systems that is profitable for everyone else? There's a man named Jeff Bezos. He started Amazon. Amazon is successful. You think he doesn't manufacture all the products that are sold on Amazon. He has third-party agreements with other people to supply the products. But there are certain rules they have to abide by. You think he cares? You think Jeff Bezos cares what part of the world you come from or what color you are? All he sees are dollar signs. He makes $142 billion a month. Not 142 million. 142 billion with a B a month. He's a monolith. He inspired people in China to go create Alibaba, the Chinese Amazon. So there's Amazon UK, Amazon here, Amazon there. You can find my books on Amazon are translated in every language of the world. They're even translated into some dialect in India, a place I've never heard of. But yeah, they've made sure they put it up there that my books are available over there. You should read this book. Participate in the currency of the world. In other words, what I'm saying is the energy and time that you spend on hate mongering, let's move it forward and put it to something positive. Something positive like loving, something positive like making money. If most of you guys were making money, you would find that you'd be happier because first of all, you can afford the comforts that you crave. You can afford what you think are luxuries, you can afford it. The second thing is the amount of money you spend on guns and ammunition. So the way the economic system is, it was set up for you to win. But you really, white people, you really aren't taking advantage of it because you use it to go buy guns. How about using it to go get a degree from Harvard or using it to go get a degree from your state where you are? Go get a degree in computer engineering. Go get a degree in supply management, in chain supply management. Do you see what I'm saying? Y'all see what I'm saying? If you were so busy and engaged, this is what you miss about black churches. When they come together, when black people come together in these churches, they're finding ways to empower their young people and move their community forward. So you hate that because traditional white society doesn't like you all because you are the fringe elements and you embarrass them. They're not going to invite you to their cocktail parties as their relatives. They're like, go get yourself cleaned up. Go get your teeth done. For God's sakes, have you had a shower? That's what they say. But participate in our economy. Come and ask us questions. Next time you see a black pastor, ask him how is he getting it done. He has to fight against racism, colorism, financialism, and every kind of ism to make it. Go ask a black pastor. Let him tell you about community development funds that he's had to wheel and deal. He's a CEO. Yeah. Instead of burning our churches down, why don't you come and ask us what is the reason for our hope? In spite of everything that I've just described that has happened to a people who are black, who were kidnapped from their native lands and brought here, in spite of all that, these folks dare to have hope. Why don't you come and ask us the same religion that their oppressors used to excuse why they kept people oppressed is the same icons of that religion that we worship today. So we must have found a truth in the midst of the lies. And in finding the truth, we found hope. And hope lights eternal. I just want to close on that because I feel as if we've missed the mark. We've missed the mark totally. Holy Thursday, as we head into Good Friday, and we remember the sacrifice of Jesus Christ's life because he gave his life. That was someone for what he believed. He gave his life for it. That is hope. That is giving the rest of us hope that we won't be forgotten when we pass off this earth. That what we have done for our children, they will not forget. Do you see where I'm coming from? That is our hope. Our hope is that one day this will turn around. One day, somehow, somebody is going to lay their weapons down and they will walk up to a church to light it and they will see hope instead of fear. That is the hope that we need to cleave to. We need hope. We need hope. We need hope. Hope needs to come back to us. Come on. If we have hope, guess what we will do? We will get up the next day and keep trying. We will learn to love people, even the most unlovable people. Sometimes you love people from afar. That's okay. You can stay up in the mountains. I still love you, brother. Just don't come down here and disrupt my community and fire gunshots and do all the crazy things that you're known for. How about just love from afar? But we still have hope. And as long as the cross and the story of the cross prevails, there is hope in that. Did you see that? When the churches are burned, the cross. Why is the cross always standing? Because that is the real word. That is the message. That is the hope. Thank you so much It's a busy week. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you. WKMD Jazz Detroit, right? Took a minute to stop in. It's a busy week. Tomorrow is Good Friday. We're going to remember Jesus' travail as he walked to the cross. WKMD Jazz Detroit Radio. Download the app. I have the app on my phone, right? Tomorrow, we're going to remember. But we have to remember there is hope because 3 days later, he got up. That's Easter Sunday. And we're going to rise up again. We're going to get up again. We're going to rebuild our churches. We're going to take charge and we're going to rebuild our lives. And while we're doing that, Black people are renowned for being forgiving. We're very forgiving, but we still forgive with caution. So we encourage our white brothers and our white sisters who believe that you are pursuing the purity of a race, something that Hitler tried, dudes and dudettes. Hitler tried it and failed. Don't you think if it were real, he would have gotten it done? Right? Hitler tried it and failed. They didn't let him do it because it is unachievable. And if the other white people didn't let Hitler do it, they're not going to let you do it this time either. So lay your weapons down and come to hope. Hope springs eternal. Let's all find our hope this week. Tomorrow we won't have a broadcast. Tomorrow is Good Friday. We're going to sit down and think about what we should do. But hope springs eternal. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. Thanks for joining me. It's Holy Thursday. I pray peace and your comfort during this time. And that whatever you are believing for, that hope will not leave you. That you will still live in hope. Despite everything else that is going on around us, hope prevails. And the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. I know you're busy. Thank you so much. I won't keep you. I know you got stuff to do. Thanks, everybody. Bye, everybody. And thanks so much. Hope.